Everyone, let's have a goals check-in. We're already 3 months through 2024, so Q1 is finished and it's time to see how I'm doing on my goals. We'll start with reading goals and move on to life goals after that. If the light is changing, it's because the sun is doing something with clouds. So starting with reading goals. I didn't set myself too many specific reading goals. I just have my usual tracking and some goals or things I would like to achieve. One of those is that I would like to reach or to read 100 books this year, and I'm perfectly on track for that. So far I finished 31 books. They were half read, half listened to, so I listened to 16 audiobooks, read 6 ebooks and 9 physical books. So that's about the usual. Just as well as the monthly pages I read. I read 4,960 pages in total in the first 3 months, which is a little bit more than 1,000 pages per month, which is what I usually do. And the minutes, I'm a little bit less than 2,000 per month at 7,739, which already tells you that my second main goal for the year, reading bigger books, has not quite worked out as planned. While I have read more pages on average, in 2023 the average length of my books were 246 pages. Now I'm at 292 pages. So reading wise, I'm doing good. Listening wise, I really fell down. In 2023 my average audiobook length was 588 minutes. This year it's 455 so far. Granted, I listened to a novella series of 9 books and each audiobook was under 5 hours, which doesn't count as longer books. So there's the explanation, and I'm not even sad or feel guilty or whatever. I wanted to listen to the books. Nothing bad happened. But it might help to remember in choosing audiobooks that I shouldn't only just pick the quick and fast and easy reads. We'll see how that changes over the year. Then another goal that I completely failed on and didn't really pay attention to because I got distracted was reading books off of my wish lists. I told you in my goals video, the ones we set out for the year, that I tend to put books on wish lists instead of buying them, which keeps my TBR low, but which also doesn't lead to me reading the books. So I wanted to see and go to the wish list more and pick longer books instead of only the shorter books, but that didn't really happen. Most of the books I read were actually new and I discovered or heard about or never really cared about and then got interested in. So reading off my wish list didn't really work as much or as well as I had hoped, and I'm not sure if that's going to change in Q2 because I have a lot of unread books at home because I kept buying new books. Yeah, I'm not doing well. Anyways, another thing that I didn't achieve was finishing the series that I started. I want to finish my Discworld series reread this year. I only have 6 books left, but so far I haven't picked up one. I don't know. It's not working well. The same with the Tinkered Star Song. There are 2 books left in the trilogy. I enjoyed the first one, still haven't felt like picking up the second and the third book. Let's see if Q2 will change that. But I don't know. Now looking at the general stats and tracking that I do. I always track how many German authors I read or German books. And I would like to reach 10% of my reading to be by German authors. I usually hit 5. At the moment I read 1 book by a German author, which is 3% of my reading. And not so well. With non-fiction, I usually hit 20% and I would like to hit 20% this year. Currently I'm at 2 non-fiction books, which is 6%. Not so good. With classics and translations, I'm doing better. I've already read 6 classics and 8 translations, so there I'm right on track to what I would like my reading to look like. I haven't reread any books this year, so I'm way off track there, but it's not so bad because the Discworld series, those are rereads. Once I pick them up, I can make up for the loss. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm also tracking sequels. Now, I haven't finished the series that I set out I wanted to finish, but I started 3 new ones, 2 of which I already finished, and I've been also reading other sequels. So 45% or 14 books of the books I've read this year have been sequels in some form or other. So not doing bad on that, but yeah, not the series I focused on. I also track LGBTQIA books roughly. So mostly if the books have queer characters, I'll count it into that category, and so far 19 books or 61% of my reading have been queer books. So I guess there's a trend there, or it had to do with the series that I've read. Anyways, doing well on everything I'm tracking. Before we move on, let's have a little reflection on how my reading feels this year, because I think the numbers are great, the books that I've read are great, I don't regret reading the books. The books that I DNF'd this year, 3 so far, fall into the category of I want to have them read, but I don't really enjoy reading them. And that had me thinking a little bit about the reading goals I'm making and the books I'm choosing. So partly I would really like to read more of the literary books, more of the books that the prizes are talked about, or the exciting new published books in literary fiction, the authors that everybody talks about. I really would like to read more of those. But when it comes to what I'm actually reading, I'm drawn to fast-paced and plot-based books that are really easy to fly through, that transport you into a different world, into a different life. I have been reading also literary books and notice that while I enjoy reading them, I'm differently invested, and because I am still very much exhausted and short of attention, I keep forgetting what they want to tell me, and I feel I'm not getting the most or the best experience out of those books, because I sometimes feel like, yeah, I enjoyed listening to that, or I enjoyed reading that, I can see what it did, I understand why it's there, but I don't care. And that's the bad part, the I don't care part. I feel myself caring more about the fantasy worlds, the series, and things where I can get lost in someone else's life that is also not real. And that is a little bit difficult for picking books or making plans when it comes to reading, because the reader I would like to be is not the reader I am right now, but I'm not really mad at the reader I am right now, because mostly what I want from reading is that I enjoy it, that I have fun with the books that I'm reading. The fun can come from various things, but I want to enjoy the time and don't feel like reading is a chore, that I have to finish something. So I'm really curious to see how this will go in Q2, because now that I'm aware of this difference, I'm paying attention to it, and I might choose more literary books on purpose and see how I'm feeling with them. We'll see how that went in July. April, May, June, yes, July, when we have our next goals check-in. But overall, with my reading, I'm quite happy. I really enjoy sitting down with books, discovering new things, and just picking things randomly. So I hope you're doing fine with your reading as well. Let me know if you're happy with your stats and also with the books you're reading, or if you're really, really not doing what you wanted to. And if so, discard your old goals, make new ones. Now, let's move a little bit to life goals, or rather, in between, I wrote down channel goals. Yes, I made channel goals this year again. I completely failed at those, by the way. I wanted to make more videos. I wanted to be more active in the community again. I wanted to do so many things. But the reality had me really falling down the dark days of winter, and then work got stressful. The new colleague started later than expected and is needing more attention than I had planned for. So I have been not in a good place, and I find talking and forming sentences to put my thoughts into words really difficult for making videos. So I wanted to make more single reviews again, and every time I sit down and try to make one, I fail, and I hate that, because I feel I have nothing to say, I feel like an imposter, I feel so many people already talked about the book, or that I'm scared of misrepresenting anything, all the stupid things that you start to worry about when you feel insecure. And I don't like that, but that is what is happening, and I hope that will change throughout the year. But currently I'm at a state where I find wrap-ups easy and vlogging experiences in a way where I just ramble on the books and the thoughts I have. I am grateful for everyone watching them, but I understand that they are not concise single reviews. So we'll leave it at that and move on to life goals. I actually had to rewatch the video because I didn't write anything down. And apparently I didn't really make life goals. I set out into the year with thinking of a few things that I would like to do, but I didn't really put them into words. And I had this idea of making monthly bingo boards. And I started for January and for February. I did really well. I wrote down some things that I wanted to achieve that month. So more short-term goals and long-term goals. And then in March, I completely failed at achieving anything. So in general, what I would like to do for 2024, one overarching goal you could say is feel good about things again. And one of the things I put down for goal for that is the daily habits and routines that I noticed make me feel better. So the morning exercise, going for a walk, and actually yoga as well. So I haven't done any yoga classes or any more looking out in doing yoga somewhere else with others. But I have noticed that when I manage to do 10 to 20 minutes yoga with some kind of yoga video at home, I am doing better. In March, I skipped a lot of yoga days and a lot of things didn't go well in March. Now, it mustn't be the yoga, but it could be. So I'm trying to be better in April again and sticking to those 3 movement goals that I have to see if that actually makes me feel better. And so far it usually does. So that is going well. And that's something I really want to keep going for the year, that I have those 3 movement goals and see how well I'm doing on them. Another thing I wrote down that I need to pay more attention to that sets me up for a better mood or feeling well is cleaning and keeping my place tidy. Now, there is something I am struggling with every now and again because I just don't want to clean. I don't enjoy it. And sometimes I'd skip a week in doing the bigger parts and then I regret it. And then there's always dishes, things like that. And I know I feel better when everything is done, but that doesn't make me do the thing. So that's a goal I want to pay attention to. And I have good days and bad days, which is okay. But I think the idea of this goal is to remind myself that I feel better when I clean and have a clean space, that it sets me up to do it. We'll see how that works. Another goal that I had, where I'm doing okay-ish with, is I wanted to do more stuff and travel again. So like I said, yeah, January and February were really well. I tried actively to go out of my way and do stuff, have little adventures, try new things, like try new recipes or stuff. And that worked out. In March, I had a shift a little bit in goals, and yeah, that didn't really work out well. And there may be connections. So I did travel, and traveling wasn't so easy this year as I expected. I wanted to travel in January already, but then there were strikes and train strikes, so I couldn't really get from A to B because I don't have a car. And then I traveled in March, and that was okay. I got stressed out a lot because there was another train strike for the day that I traveled out, and I got on a train, but that was super stressful. But once I was there, I got a little bit, or felt a little bit better. It was a short trip to Berlin. I vlogged the trip, but there's not much Berlin in there. It's mostly reading and me being exhausting. But anyways, I enjoyed that, and that's what it was meant to be. It was meant to be for me to get started traveling again. Then this month I want to travel again. I have booked a hotel, and so far there have been 3 changes to the trains already that every time have me spiral into anxiety. And that's what I want to get rid of. I want to get slowly into traveling again and feel more or less stressed by it, because at the moment I feel stressed a lot by the idea of going somewhere else, but I enjoy going somewhere else. And yeah, so that is sort of going okay, but it needs a lot of work and reminder. It's not something I'm excited for. It's something that I am pushing myself a little bit to see if it doesn't work out, then I won't travel more again. But I would like to be able to travel when I want to. And that's the goal, to be able to travel when I want to and feel good about it and not only decide home is okay too. Yeah. Let's have a little detour about eating. So if you don't want to listen to this, skip ahead. But in March, I definitely had eating problems in a way that I overate on everything. And I really, really felt bad because I've been eating too much for too many days in a row. Sometimes you have that. It's perfectly fine. But I was feeling really, really awful and didn't like myself. So I decided, in connection with my running goals, that every time I put weight on, it puts weight on my knees by running or when running, and that makes my knees hurt and makes me run slower. And since I have running goals for half marathon by June, not on track there, not by far, that I decided, okay, I'm going to track what I'm eating and cut down chocolate. So one of my main issues is that I have no discipline in eating my favorite chocolates. So everybody knows I'm really, really in love with chocobons, and they come in a bag, and the bag is always more than you should eat at one go, and I eat the whole bag. I have no restriction there. And sometimes that's okay. Other times I feel bad afterwards because I've eaten too much. And so I've decided to definitely cut that out and also restrict or reduce how much I'm eating to see if losing weight would help me run better and also give me an overall more joy of eating again and not feel bad about eating. Or it's not bad about eating, but feel stuffed all the time and bloated, and you know the effects of when you've eaten too much. And on the one side, it's working well, so I've lost weight. But the other side that I really have trouble addressing is that my mental health is not better for it. So you know how they always promise you, if you eat all the healthy things and cut out the sugars and blah, 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 that your mental health will improve. I think my mental health needs all that chocolate. I mean, I know why I've been eating so much. It's a stress reaction. I definitely feel better when I've had a certain amount of chocolate sugar, and it doesn't work the same if I eat a spoonful of sugar or whatever. So I've been wondering if cutting out all that chocolate, it's not that I'm not eating any chocolate or cake or whatever. I'm not on a strict diet, but I've reduced the favorite chocolates. And so I think that sometimes I feel like that has me feeling worse mentally. And whatever that says about me, it also had an effect on the overall things that I achieved in March and the resilience I had. So I really have to work on resilience recently, and I am overly exhausted. I have been working a lot of overtime again due to training someone and also having to get the work done. It never really works out that you work less. It also somehow works out into working more and having someone sit next to me the whole day at work. And physical proximity is exhausting for that amount of time. Yeah. And so I'm a little in that situation that I think I'm doing well in not overeating every day. I think that's good for my body. But not eating my favorite chocolate is not good for my mind. So I don't know where that is going. That's been an excursion into dieting and how awful society is for telling you that chocolate eating is bad. Anyways, let's move on to happier things. I don't know if it's happier things. I have my running goals, which I mentioned before. I wanted to run half marathon distance by June and marathon distance by September, and also increase speed. Now I noticed that increasing speed is slowly working a little bit, but for shorter runs. For longer runs, I noticed definitely that if I had a bad work week, because my long runs are on a Saturday, so if I had a bad and stressful week and I worked overtime, my long run suffers. I'm slower, my legs are tired and heavy, and I really don't hit the distance. So today I wanted to reach 14 kilometers. I barely hit 11 and it was awful. I was slow and it was painful. And I had a horrible week. So that kind of matches up. So I wanted to want to reach 13 kilometers safely by the end of March. And I only ran it once. So you can't call it safely. Oh, I didn't even run it in March. That was April already. See, I'm behind. I'm still optimistic that I can reach the half marathon distance this year sometime, either June or July, but I'm really, really not optimistic about running marathon distance at the moment. We'll see how things change. And the pacing, we'll see what happens. I'm more interested in the distance and pace comes afterwards. That's running. I also wanted to really do the Korean thing. I found out I can pause the course. So I paused the course because there was no mind space. I didn't enjoy when I sat down. It felt like a chore and I don't want it to feel like a chore. I still want to see if I can finish this program, the 90-day Korean, which I'm currently doing, and do the 4 modules there. But at the moment, no mind space. Like the whole time recently, it all depends on how work goes. The current plan is not that I don't have my task anymore in May, but that the new position or tasks or the switch, whatever you want to call it, is starting definitely finally by June. I might still have to train new colleagues on the side on the old tasks, but I'm not the responsible one. So what I'm looking forward, or what I'm hoping this change will bring, is that I'm not responsible anymore for a certain amount of students and certain tasks. And I definitely want to get rid of responsibility, because I have noticed that what this brings is like, my job is basically getting demands and having to fulfill them. And I find that exhausting. And it's getting more and more exhausting, and my patience is running out. So I'm taking more and more of the problems the students have home with me, and I don't want to have them home. So my new tasks will be detached from people, so I won't have the personal interaction, which I definitely like about my job, but it's also the exhausting part of my job. So I will have less deadlines, less emails hopefully, no phone calls hopefully, and not everybody demanding or wanting something from me. The only things I will do then is things that nobody wants. So that's going to be the fun part. It's only bad news, but I'm not personally involved. That's my hope. But that will be June. So I think the overall changes that I'm expecting from working less and having a different job will not come before Q3. So where does that leave me for Q2 when it comes to life goals? I definitely want to continue with my feel-good habits and routines. I definitely want to continue with the running goals. I definitely want to see if I can go on little adventures, travel, and do stuff. Basically, I haven't moved from where I was when I started this year with life goals. I'm still just maintenance, see that I feel good, and see how things are going. Let's leave it there. How are you doing? How was your first quarter? Did you do well on whatever you wanted to achieve? Did you want to achieve anything? Did you have any changes? Do you have any challenges? Or could you enjoy the perfect happiness of your life? I hope your life is happy. Thank you all for watching, and let's talk in comments. Bye-bye.